I'm excited to be here. When Christy asked me, last month or so, if I would host this, and she gave me free reign on the topic, I was excited. I had received an email not too long before that, the CPAs that we work with, and it had a really interesting document that I wanted to incorporate in my own personal filing and organization. And so I thought I would plan this session around that. So I'm certainly not an expert on the subject. I've learned a lot just getting this presentation ready, and I'm hoping that you guys can learn from it too. So I know everybody is in probably a different place on where or how they organize their documents or anything personal related to financials or anything with your family. And I'll tell you, mine is somewhat organized chaos, right? So I know where everything is, but it's probably not organized enough that somebody could step in and find the things they needed if the case should arise. So I'm assuming some other people are in the same boat. So like in my house, do the finances, I pay the bills, and my husband is very uninvolved by his choice. So, from my perspective, like I said, I know where things are. He does not. There might be some of you out there that are more in my husband's boat that, aren't as involved and would benefit from, some organization. So I think this topic is good for everybody, no matter what, side you're on, as far as if you're involved or not, or maybe somewhere in between. So hopefully you learn a few things today, and hopefully it brings up some good conversation. So for our agenda, we're just going to go through starting from gathering your financial documents and then how you're going to communicate the system to a trusted individual. So hopefully during the presentation, you'll get some tools that you think would be useful in your personal life going forward. So we will jump right in. Okay, gathering financial documents. This picture here, I have a few of these piles probably around my house. I have a desk in my kitchen that all the mail seems to go on. And, when people come over and I don't want everybody to see the mess on my desk, I throw it up in the cupboard above. And then every once in a while I go back and I sort through everything and get rid of what I don't need and keep the important stuff. Well, I'm hoping that after today, I will be better about this. I also have another pile in my desk upstairs in my office. So this says, look everywhere from your desk drawers, your email inbox, in your purses, ladies, wherever you keep your information. But the first step is really to gather it all and have it in one place so you can determine what the best system is for you going forward. This last point on this slide says discard unnecessary items. Again, I bring the mail in or someone brings the mail in, it goes on the kitchen counter, it gets moved to the desk, then up to the cupboard. Well, there's junk in there, right? That we all get every day. It would be much better if I would just go through that junk right away, put it in the shred bin or wherever, and then hopefully I'm left with just the stuff that I need. But instead I get a bunch of old expired coupons and catalogs and stuff that I have good intentions of using, but probably never do. So it's often on my to-do list to clean out my messy desk. Next would be choosing your filing system, right? So there's different options. You can obviously have physical files. You can have, banker's boxes, filing cabinets, a drawer somewhere. But then there's also ways, that you can file them digitally. I'm guessing most people are, somewhat of a combination. There's certain things that obviously aren't going to be electronic. Your passports, titles to vehicles, deeds to houses. Those things are obviously never going to be digital. So you do need some sort of physical filing structure for them. But, we do have digital things like here at Selden, I know I've opted to get my W-2s digitally. So when I receive those, I file them on my computer and I have a system for, I have my tax folders and then by year and then the W-2s inside there. So it's kind of just a matter of, looking at each individual item, what it is and what would work best for you. Again, there's no, right answer. And because what's good for me may not be good for, my neighbor here. So But think about what would be best for you. And again, going back to, like I said, for Selden, for my W-2, I've opted to get that electronically. I know a lot of our service providers give you that option as well, right? If you get your bank statements in the mail each month and then just throw them in the shred bin, maybe just go and log into your bank and just choose email delivery, and then you can just get it electronically if you're not saving those. Now, if you're filing them, that's a different story, and you want to keep them paper, that's great. Some people really like paper. I can tell you my dad, who is also an accountant, and he's probably a lot more organized than I am, but he probably has utility bills and who knows what in a filing cabinet somewhere that should probably be cleaned out. But he saves everything, where I'm kind of the opposite, and I would rather have it be electronically stored and not have paper. So after you're choosing, what items are going to be physical, what are digital, and then you can move on to how you're going to categorize them. So, right. So, if we're spending this time, we want to make sure we've been thoughtful about how we're going to organize things. This picture shown here is obviously a file cabinet with, folders that are labeled. A key to this would be to label them clearly and consistently. So, you don't want to label something and then, not know where to find it when you look in this nice filing cabinet. And the last thing you want to be is like, wait, where did I put that? So I think spending some time determining where you're going to or how you're going to file is huge. And I found on a website that I'll list later in the slide, this home filing categories. Hopefully you can see that. But this, I think it breaks down anything you can think of, and she has it color coded here, to certain categories, and then under it is, all sorts of documents and things that you'd want to keep. But so I think this is a great start. And again, it works whether you're doing it, in a file cabinet or digital. But this is a 2-page document that goes through all sorts of things that you would want to save and file. So I think this is a good document, and will be attached in the slides, and the website is included at the end of the presentation. But I think this is a great start. And what I found really is once I started like Googling, for organization and things like that, there are so many resources out there that you can use to determine, again, what system works best for you, right? Some people would not like these files. Like I said, my dad loves these files. So after you categorize, name, and file, then we have to talk about retention periods. So how long do you keep things? So tax documents, the IRS recommends tax documents for 3 to 7 years. This picture here that I grabbed, it was the best visual I could find. It's from a shredding company, but they say tax returns 7 years. I did put a link in the back of the presentation to the IRS guidance on how long to keep it. It looks like for most items, they say 3 years. Now, it's longer if you are not reporting your taxes, then you need to keep things indefinitely. And if you're fraudulently reporting, not reporting enough income and so forth, then you need to keep it indefinitely. Hopefully we don't have anybody here that's doing that. So it would be more towards the 3 years. Obviously you have documents that are going to be indefinitely, birth certificates, wills, property titles, that sort of things. I found a little bit different answers when I looked at bank statements. So most financial experts say to keep them for 1 year. This graphic here says 3 months, but with most banks now you can get that information online, and I don't know how long they save the statements, but I personally I don't get them physically in the mail. I've opted into the email bank statement, but I don't download them. If I need to go, I look at them, obviously, and I do what I need to do, reconcile, but I don't save them anywhere. I just know that if I need to, I can go back to the bank. Now, banks do have restrictions on how long they will let you go back. So if you're finding yourself you need to go back, you know, for a long time for whatever reason, you probably want to save those and keep them longer. But again, it's kind of a personal option there. So it talks about ATM receipts, pay stubs, you know, it says less than a week. I think everybody gets their pay stubs, you know, through UKG and they're electronic. So I don't think we have that issue for Selden employees. But obviously, you know, home repairs and mortgage documents, you're keeping those longer. But the website for this graphic is down here at the bottom of this slide. And there's a little article that goes with it too. So I recommend reading it. It is older. I think it said it was back from 2016. But I think the information is still relevant. And like I said, it was the best graphic I was able to find on retention. Most of when I searched retention, I was getting you know, stuff for businesses. And now if you have spouses or family that have businesses, and you know, you're helping them organize, there's definitely a lot of resources out there for retention on those types of things as well. But I just stuck to the personal records here today for this retention policy. The next step would be securing your documents. So you know, if you're, you know, with those paper documents, the physical, there's a lot of options out there. I think I Googled, you know, fireproof cabinet or fireproof filing, and these are all the different options I got. So, right. So some of it's more like a briefcase or you know, a crate, and then more, you know, your filing cabinets that you're used to. But what I'm trying to say here is I don't think you have to spend a ton of money to find something, you know, to make sure your documents are safe. You know, another recommendation would be a safe deposit box at your bank. Those are obviously though more for things that you're not accessing often. Maybe your passport, your birth certificate, your social security card, not stuff that you want to access frequently. These would be more items here that, you know, that you're filing regularly or looking at regularly. On the digital side, you know, we always recommend, you know, passwords and two-factor authentication, just to make sure nobody is getting into your stuff that you don't want to be seen. And then backing up your files regularly, whatever that looks like for you. So just to make sure that those personal documents are safe. We don't obviously want to get them in the wrong hands. The next step then, maintaining your system. So after you've spent all this time organizing, filing, setting up all your categories, you know, and doing that, we want to make sure you're regularly keeping up on it, right? So we probably have to go through and set up a regular purging time, you know, depending on what your documents are. If you're printing off bank statements and putting them in a file cabinet, you know, at some interval, they should be shredded, removed from the cabinet, and then, you know, replaced with just the more recent documents. And as with everything else, you know, I know everybody's busy. We've got kids we're taking care of. We've got parents, other family members, you know, and work and everything else going on in our lives. It's you know, easy to let this one slide. That's what I'm blaming mine on, right? Now that my kids are older, they're teenagers, they don't want to spend as much time with me. I will have more time to organize my stuff. But you know, it's not a bad idea to put it on your calendar and schedule something, you know, regularly, depending on the types of documents you have and how long you've decided you want to keep them. Then you can determine how long or how often you should be going through the information. The last item on my agenda is communicate your system. So in the beginning of the presentation, I had mentioned that I received a document from one of our CPA firms that we work with that kind of sparked this this idea about what I wanted to create this class around. This is the document that I received. There's a screenshot of it there, and I'll pull it up here. This is, like I said, in my case with my husband, who is not involved in the financial side of things, this struck me as very important, right? So this document is basically has all sorts of information that someone would need, or is a good resource if they needed it, right? So if you were to pass away, if if you were in the hospital and couldn't access it, it would be a good place for them to start. And if they've already been told where the information is, they're like one step ahead of everything, right? And one less thing to worry about if it is an emergency situation. So this first page here has trusted advisors. So your accountant, lawyer, financial advisor, insurance, banker, and you can put all the information about them, right? So who the contact is, their phone number, email, anything else you want to write in here. And then there's this nice little like checklist. You can say, yep, we're done with that one. I finished it. So you can, as you're preparing this, obviously you're probably not going to do this all in one sitting, but then you can come back and go, okay, well, I skipped these. I need to go back and do them. So this first page is trusted advisors. This second is insurance policies. So any type of insurance that you have, personally through Selden, whatever it may be. But again, the vendor, the website, how to log in, any additional information. So you can put all sorts of notes here, right? So insurance policies. This next one is proof of identity and relationships. So I don't know where you would log in to see the social security card. I'm assuming that would be, somewhere in your filing cabinet, but you could put that in here in the additional information. Here's where we keep this information. And then, anything else, marriage certificates, whatever else there. And then here's your bank accounts. So, where, if you have these types of bank accounts, who are they with? How do you log in? What else do I need to know about them? Credit and debit cards, safe to deposit box, like we talked about earlier. And then just more information on any agreements or logins. Then we go to your assets, right? You have titles, deeds, real estate, vehicles, boats, airplanes, if somebody has an airplane. All that information, can go in this section. And then down here we get to utilities. So all your vendors, or all your providers, and then their, again, their information. So I'll tell you, like I said, my husband, I mean, he could probably figure out, who are, we use OPPD for for our utilities, but like that's, if this was set out for him, that would be a huge help. And then tax returns, 401k, any type of other investments. Go down here, wills, other sorts of trusts, documents. So this document is very in depth, and again, that's why I loved it, because it's probably stuff that we don't always think about all the time, but again, it would be a huge help to somebody if it's needed. So back to utilities, and then education, career. So any documents there, any records, anything you'd want to communicate to somebody, and then medical records and information there, right? And then social media, other considerations, anything you have set up for automatic payments, social media, that kind of thing. I don't want to be, a downer, but if someone were to pass away and you had this document, it would just make things so much easier, right? And I know, and I'm sorry, my husband knew I was going to beat on him today, and it's not, and it's his by his choice, right? When we were first married, 23 years ago, he at first I said, okay, like I'll pay all the bills. That's my thing, right? And we'll get together once a month and we'll talk about it. So that first month we sat down and I kind of went through things, and he's like, how about you just tell me if I can't take $20 out of the bank account? And I was like, okay. So that's kind of been our deal ever since. If we don't have enough money for you to take $20 out of the ATM, I'll let you know. But in all fairness, like I said, it's his choice, but it's also me that likes to do this kind of thing, but it could become very helpful. One of the links that I actually posted, and I'll just go to that now. At the end here, I have some resources. So this first link, the Savvy Sparrow Home File Organization, that was that handy the filing categories, that 2-page list of all the categories you could file things in. But then I also noticed when I was on that site, and this is a very good site, this Savvy Sparrow, they have this emergency binder. And it's probably similar to, the document I just shared. But I think she titled it as like, I almost died, and these are the things that my, family should need to know, and you should want your family to know as well. So that could be a very good resource as well. Again, I put the IRS link to the guidelines as far as record retention for your tax documents. And then finally, this is the financial access checklist that we just went over. And this is the website where they have it listed on their blog. So I will have that all attached, and I'll give it to Christy. I'm assuming we'll share the deck at some point. So that was my presentation in a nutshell. Does anybody have any questions?
I didn't see any questions, but just to give some feedback, Sarah had mentioned this is great when helping elderly parents and family members. And then Kendra mentioned that she lost her mother-in-law in March and all of her things are a mess. So she said, do it for the people, even if you don't like them. So
Well, that's fair, right? Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a topic, and I don't love talking about it. Like my dad will always be like, "Well, this is where your mom and I's stuff is. If something should happen to us," and I'm like, "Oh, nothing's ever going to happen to you." But I mean, realistically, something is going to happen at some point to somebody, and somebody needs those documents, right? So, if we can share that information with someone that we trust, and our stuff is organized, like I said, that just saves a lot of headache when you might be going through something very traumatic to begin with anyways. And the last thing you want to think about is all the stuff that you have no idea even where to start. So this is, I need you guys to hold me accountable. I need to start organizing my own documents and getting all my stuff together in some place that someone could look through it and go, okay. Because right now, if someone looked at it, they would say that I was not organized, when, like I said, I know where things are, but it's just probably not where other people might think they are.
we did get a comment back from John, and he said this is great information. He also has a binder for his information, but still searching for the motivation to fill in all the info.
Yeah, it's something, yeah. I don't know, maybe on a cold, rainy, dreary day, and maybe something
Yes,
something to put
exactly.
on the to-do list, right? Because I mean, anything sounds more fun than putting it together, but it will definitely be a good resource once it is all organized.
Absolutely. What other questions do you guys have? Yep, Brandy says great information and resources. We will get all of the information out to you guys. I will send an email with all of these resources and presentation if you don't mind sharing that, Jessica.
Yes, I will send that to you.
Awesome. Amy said if I added up all of the time that my husband and I have spent talking about doing this, it would probably be more than enough time to have actually done it. Boy, if that isn't a theme. That's so
That's great.
true.
I know. I always joke with my friends, like, if something happens to me, like, my husband's not going to know the calendar, like what the kids have going on. Someone needs to take over my calendar. Someone needs to, look at the bank account. So, if there's so much that I could do up front to help him if something should happen to me. So that's my goal.
So
But I would
Jessica,
love,
Oh,
Christy, if we
sorry.
could start something on maybe like Engage and people could tell us
Yeah.
like what they like maybe they have a great system that they use or a great product that they've bought that to file or something. We can kind of share those resources. So if other people have, you know, success stories or things they'd like to share.
Yeah. I have a question for you. So as we get some of these things organized, and let's say some of this is electronic, what do you think would be the best way to share that? So like for me, it would just, I would want to share that information with my son. Is that something that's pretty safe to share electronically, or is it better to actually have these hard copies?
So I use is it Google Docs or Google Drive
Uh-huh.
is where I save a lot of my stuff. Now, whether that how safe it is, I don't know. We might need IT to chime in on that. Um, but that's what I use. And you know, you can just like our OneDrive, when you send it to somebody, it can be whoever has the link can access it. So if you send it to your son and then your son sent the link to
Yeah.
someone else, they'd be able to access it. Or you
Yeah.
can limit it to, you know, just this person can access it. And even on there, it's probably not a bad idea to have, you know, a password. So if you have this one document that has, you know, everything about you and your
Yeah.
passwords and your logins and everything, I mean, I would want that password protected too, so that, you know, in case somehow that link did get to somebody that it wasn't supposed to, they would still need the password to access it.
Yeah. That makes sense. Great info. All right. Anybody else? We will definitely put this out on Engage so we can continue the conversation. It sounds like we all need a little motivation. This is what I'm hearing. So we got you. We can do that.
We can all hold each other to it, right? Like I said, keep me accountable.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this.
Absolutely. All right, perfect. Well, it doesn't look like we have any more questions. We definitely appreciate you guys jumping on today. Again, if you had team members that were unable to attend today, please know that I will get that assigned to them and then help them remember to jump in and just finish out the pulse check. We do have that 60% goal, so I'll send a couple of reminders on that as well. And then we'll get these resources and this presentation out to you also. Awesome. Jessica, thank you so much. We appreciate you jumping on and teaching.
Thank you for having me. It's
Of
been fun.
course. Of course. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.